It's crazy to think that women can go through perimenopause while raising toddlers and or teenagers. Like, that's such a crazy concept because many years ago, women used to start, having kids at an earlier age. So they had a good, 10, 20 plus years before even starting perimenopause or their menopausal journey. And it's just crazy because if you are at the point where you're raising teenagers, like their hormones and your hormones are all out of whack and totally not synchronized. So it can be a friggin' show. It's unfair. But anyways, with that being said, I actually took a few minutes this morning to go through some of my past test results because for a long time, not even once did my crazy symptoms connect with the possibility of me being in perimenopause. My husband used to say, well, maybe it's postmenopause, but I was like, what's postmenopause? Like, I honestly did not know because it wasn't a subject on my mind at all. I was always trying to get to the root cause of why I was feeling the way I was feeling. And one of the reasons, for example, my thyroid being sluggish with hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's is definitely a factor, can contribute and like coincide with perimenopausal symptoms. So I was focusing possibly more on that, not really the fact that I could be in perimenopause. But anyways, getting back to my husband, he would say postmenopause, but I kept saying I am not postmenopausal. I have periods. They were irregular. They were all over the map, sometimes crazy long, and or sometimes not appearing for months and months. So it was definitely a very strange time in my life. But this morning I was looking at some old test results because I have access to all my blood work online. And if you can ever do that, even if you have to pay a monthly fee or a yearly fee, it is such a good thing to have access to because then at least you can compare where you're at. But just to give you an example, in 2019, this is like October, my FSH, and this is the hormone or a test that you're not just testing your estrogen and or your progesterone or even testosterone, but post-menopausal women usually have a higher FSH. And if you want the exact meaning of FSH, it's the full, I'm like, what's FSH? And menopause, I'm having a brain cramp. The follicle-stimulating hormone, there you go. It had skipped my brain. I couldn't remember what it was, but it's, according to Google, FSH is a hormone produced in the brain that stimulates the ovaries to produce estrogen. So again, when you are in menopause or postmenopause, your numbers tend to be higher, much higher. And for getting back to the 2019 date, my FSH was 6. So 5 years ago, it was low. So it wasn't, menopause wasn't really at all. I don't even, again, I was tested, but I didn't really know what that truly meant. So I ignored it and nothing was flagged. So I just left it. But then in June of 2023, which is like 3 years later, my FSH was 90. So that clearly indicates that my body was not producing what it needed to ovulate and have normal cycles every month. And then just recently, this past December in 2024, my FSH was 80. So it was a little bit lower than the year before, but that, again, that can be normal because I have had a few periods since then, but not every month and not regular at all. So that is pretty much a good indication that even though I'm not considered postmenopausal yet, I definitely am trending that way. And I don't know if you've ever seen one of those charts that show like women's hormones during perimenopause, but it's basically like up and down, up and down, up and down until eventually it just gradually goes to nothing. And when it goes to nothing, you should be in postmenopausal by that point. I'm not really the best to explain all these things, but also going back to my older videos, I listened to myself. And again, I did these videos because I said, if anything, if nobody watches them, at least it's a good way for me to look back and see how I've progressed and what's better, what's worse. And a lot of what I was experiencing totally coincides with perimenopause symptoms. So it's just like, it's so crazy that no naturopath, no doctor, no nurse, no one ever said, are you in perimenopause? Or I was having like issues with bleeding at certain times, and okay, well, I have a cyst. But again, you can have cysts, you can have fibroids, you can have other issues, a bulky uterus, which is still a problem today. But I've learned to deal with it the best that I can. But again, I was so focused on all those other things that I wasn't even thinking perimenopause. And really, a woman can enter menopause, that time in her life, between the ages of 45 and 50. But for some, like, that means that if you experience or can experience perimenopausal symptoms for 7 to 10 years before you're postmenopausal, that means it's super possible that you can be 35 or into your early 30s, mid 30s with perimenopausal symptoms. And for me, that's when I was having babies. So of course I wasn't in that stage while having babies, but it's very possible that soon after, it's totally what was happening to me. It's like I was like postpartum to like perimenopause with no break in between. No wonder my body was confused. It was like fighting for energy, my thyroid, my hormones, my everything. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so I sympathize with you women, because anyone going through this stage of life, not really knowing what the heck is going on with you, now it makes sense. So if you understand what's going on, it might not be so scary. It's just we are left in the dark and things are getting better. There's so many people doing videos and like doctors writing books about this subject, which is so wonderful, because again, I don't think our mothers and grandmothers had an easy time, and hopefully it can just be easier if we understand it better. And now I'm understanding things so much better and clearer, and it's not as scary, because I know hopefully that there's, an end to this crazy journey. Anyways, I guess that was my little sermon for the day. Today I'm at 7-8 days taking hormones. Now HRT, the terms are all leaving my brain today. Have I experienced anything so far? I think, to be honest, like I feel like usually I would pass out at 9-10 at night, but now I'm like I feel a little wired at night. Like I can't just relax enough to fall asleep, which is interesting. And then I sleep pretty good from like midnight till 5:30 or 6 in the morning, but I'm still waking up exhausted. So I'm gonna work on that. But nothing else is really super obvious. So I will keep taking notes in my handy little book, which I'll put a link in the description of this video if you want to track your symptoms, because the perimenopausal journey can last a long time, and having something to write down all your symptoms and notes is super, super handy. Because in like my other video, I talk about how my vision has changed so dramatically, like in the last few years, that I can't see unless I have my glasses. And it's kind of scary, because you go from having perfect vision to like all of a sudden not seeing very well at all. So having a book or something to track your symptoms is very, very handy. And I think that's all I have to say for today. But if you are going through perimenopause, are you doing so with toddlers, or are you at the stage where you have teenagers in your house? Either one is extremely challenging, so I sympathize with you, but let us know, or let me know, and when I say us, I mean other people watching the video, where you are at in your journey, so we can kind of like help and encourage each other. Anyways, have a good day and I will see you in the next video. Bye.